Welcome to Money Convos, where we discuss personal finance and investment tips. We're committed to helping people create wealth and achieve financial freedom. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. All right then, let's head into today's conversation.
Hello, Prince. How you doing?
How you doing, Elikem?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. Yourself?
I'm great, my brother. I'm great.
How's Donald Trump doing?
How's who?
Donald Trump. How is he doing?
I see. They said they've indicted him. We are seeing how that will go.
Okay.
It's interesting times.
It's interesting. I follow it on CNN and I watch it and I say, Charlie, the law can take hold of anybody at any time.
For these for the politics in America, I try to avoid giving opinions. It's just interesting, especially as you are living here. You see some things. The media has its own angle that they are spinning. The people have a certain way of life. It's interesting. Just interesting. Yeah. Anyway, Adam, how you doing? Hello, Adam.
Hello, Elikem. Sorry about that. I'm good with yourself.
I'm great, my brother. I'm great. Today is going to be interesting. We have our economist joining us today. It's been a few weeks since we had him on.
Yeah.
So it's an honor.
Yes.
Today we will jump straight to business and discuss this because it's serious money matter. Evoca Rich, how are you doing?
My brother, I'm good. How are you?
We are great. I'm doing well, my brother. I'm doing well. So this time, as we've called you, it's very serious matter. Very, very serious matter. The government is dipping their hands deeper into our pockets. You understand? So we want you to explain to us the implications of what's going on. You understand? I know there are a couple of new taxes going on that have been introduced, but we just want to focus more on the ones that will affect individuals directly. We know that eventually everything that affects a business will come back to affect individuals, but we want to focus more on the direct ones. So perhaps I would let you give an initial opinion. A brief initial opinion, and then I'll ask you some very specific questions about taxes in general. I think this is an opportunity for us to get better understanding about taxes. Why do we do taxes? What are the various types of taxes? And then we can delve into the specific new taxes that have been introduced. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Wonderful. So you can go ahead and give us your intro statements on your perspective.
Okay, sure. Hi everyone. Nice having you here after a long, maybe not so long, absence here. As we know it, the government actually had Parliament pass 3 tax bills, I think 2 weeks ago. It was positioned as one of the things needed to get IMF program. While that is partly true, it is not entirely correct. Yes, IMF wants us to raise a lot more revenue, and we need to raise a lot more revenue to fund our expenditures. But IMF has moved on from making specific requests of you do this, do that, to leaving it to you. So they give you the broad goal that you must raise a certain revenue to be able to get this XYZ done. But what you choose to tax or how you choose to raise the revenue is your own decision. At the end of the day, you just have to convince the IMF that the route I've chosen will give me the targets that I have set for myself. So the decision to increase income tax and the things related in the income tax amendment bill 2022 actually was the decision of government of Ghana, not the IMF imposing it. The decision to convert the fiscal stabilization levy that was applicable to just selected firms mostly financial institutions now to cover all firms at different rates was the decision of the government of Ghana and not the IMF particularly pinpointing to that. And same applies for the customs amendment bill, really. So for me, that is the important thing to state from the beginning, so we are all clear. So the income tax amendment bill, and then the growth and sustainability levy, and then excise duty review and all of that, it came with a number of taxes. In fact, if you count about 15 or so of new tax implications it has for all of us. But those that affect us as individuals are not really much. I think the first one that directly affects individuals will be the personal income tax. The range has now been revised a bit. We've included now a 35%. When you earn income, your government charges you some tax on your income. You call it payee or pay as you earn tax, your personal income tax. Now you could be facing a rate of 30% or 25% or 15% or a mix of all, depending on how much you earn in a year. Government has revised the lower band now to reflect the new minimum wage now. I think minimum wage has been increased to something 14 to the 88 pesos. So they will now calculate the monthly wage that falls within minimum wage now, and that amount is exempted from taxation. So the remainder will be taxed, and they've added now, instead of terminating at 30%, they've added now a new tax bracket that is 35%. But don't worry too much about that. The reason is, maybe for most of us on this call, well, maybe I'm underestimating people's blocks though, but for most people on this call, I could safely say that no one earns maybe a gross annual income of 600,000. If you do so, or 600,000 and more, then you will be facing this new tax rate. But otherwise, you are actually advantaged a little by the adjustment of the base, the minimum exempted. And so you could find for yourself some little savings here and there from the adjustment for minimum wage. But if you are earning 600,000 and above, then you will be facing a new tax bracket of 35%. It used to be, if you were earning 240,000 and above, your maximum payable tax was about 30%, but now it's gone up to 600,000 and 35% really. So I'm not sure that is one we will be overly worried about. Which other one affects us directly?
So don't worry,
go ahead.
We'll take them one by one. But just to a point of correction, Prince, you can see Prince, he'll be highly affected negatively by that one. So
okay.
Right, I will mind you.
Prince, I want to be your friend.
No, like it's interesting when you are saying this amount. I think maybe, I don't know the other people on the call, but that amount of money is actually doable if you convert it to dollars. But anyway, at least for once, we are seeing that the government is making the rich pay more. So that would be great. That would
exactly.
Make the masses
and
happy.
that's the whole idea of progressive tax, right? You earn more, you pay more. And that is the era we need to be moving into. And I dare say there are a lot of people in this country who earn that and more. And so if we can get a lot more from them to fund the national kitty, I think it's in order. They would not be very happy with us saying this, but I think the other one that affects most of us really, especially if you work with a public sector institution or even any other private institution that pays things like vehicle allowances and all of that. So it used to be the case that some companies are found ways.
We'll get to that in a second. So just pause for me for just a second. All right, and then we'll circle back to that point. So
that's fine.
When we think about taxes, I just want to understand what can be taxed, all right? Because the way I understand some of these things, we tax profits, but some of these taxes, these changes in the taxes I'm seeing, they are taxing gross revenues. Of course, we also know about value-added taxes and all those sales tax, sales-related taxes, but I'm seeing some businesses and they are being taxed on gross revenue. I've seen there are some taxes based on assets and liabilities. So what's the general principle on what can be taxed?
Well, broadly, I think there are three types of taxes really. You can expand it in whatever form or shape you want it, depending on the argument you want to advance. But I think broadly categorizing, there are three basic types of tax. There is the income tax, which is taxed directly on your income, and so for a worker it will be your salary, and we're talking gross salary here. For a business, it will be your profit and things like that. So they are direct. You actually pay it from the very source before your money even gets to your hand. For companies here, you declare your profit and you pay. Then there is the if you like, the VAT type of taxes, levies, and duties and things like that are indirect. So some of them are on goods you purchase, call those excise tax. Some of them are on services you receive, and things related. But if government wants money, they can actually expand the scope and then find everything possible that is taxable. I think you were citing an example just to delve in a bit. You realize they are saying, I think it's one of the taxes. It doesn't affect individuals though, but what they are saying is, as a dispensation, we are saying for 5 years or for unlimited number of years, if your business is making a loss, you may not pay tax, because tax is supposed to, or company tax is supposed to be on profit. You will pay maybe other forms of taxes, but not company tax. And it's supposed to be on profit. But government is now saying that if for 5 years your business is not making profit, we will tax you 5% on your gross turnover. If you like, that is your total revenue. So it's just a way of finding money. So like we said, normally you don't tax gross revenue, but now gross revenue could be taxed because government wants to tax it. So what I wanted to understand, that there are three broad categorizations, but government can impose a tax when they want to. I heard the argument when e-levy was imposed, that what kind of tax is e-levy? Is it an income tax? Is it an excise tax, or is it what? I mean, those arguments, and based on your own analogy, you can place it where you want to. But the reality is that if government want to impose tax, they can impose it on about anything they could find their hands, they can lay their hands on, without necessarily respecting the three broad categorization of taxes, or they can create subclasses of those ones and tax them appropriately.
Wow, the government is powerful. If they need the money, they can lay their hands on anything that they want. Okay, all right, that's cool. Another concept that I observed is withholding tax. What is withholding tax? And if we say that a withholding tax has been introduced on something, is it a whole new tax?
Well, no, withholding maybe the rate, but not the nomenclature. Withholding tax is really probably you render a service for me, and I think we do it for like mostly there are individuals and entities designated to collect it. So withholding tax is like you render a service for me, but naturally when I'm paying you, government will not find any way of taking that tax from you. And probably if I leave you, you will not go and declare it yourself. And so me as an agency mandated to withhold the tax, I deduct it from what I'm paying you. And the expectation is that I'll go and file what I've withheld from you with the government. So for instance, if you rendered a research service for me and I'm paying you, knowing that you are an individual or some other entity who may not be able to, or who may not pay the tax to government, if the applicable rate is maybe 8%, I could actually withhold the 8% from, if you charge me 100,000, withhold 8% from it and pay the difference really to you. And about 8,000 and pay the 92 or so thousand to you. And so that is withholding tax. There are not, you can't decide by yourself to say, let me withhold tax. You have to be mandated to do so. And that is actually the basis for some propositions I think I've made in the past, in the lead up to budget presentations, that if we have so many artisans, carpenters, masons, hairdressers, and people like that rendering services all across. For instance, I'm constructing my house, and the fee amazing charges is almost 70-80% the cost of material, or even more in some cases. But they don't pay a dime because they are not a registered business construction company who are supposed to file taxes. Can't the government require or mandate every such person to withhold taxes from them and then go declare to government? So if you charge me 100, I withhold whatever I'm supposed to withhold and pay the difference to government. But again, I can't decide to do that by myself until I get the appropriate authorization. But in simple terms, that's withholding tax. You are withholding from the person receiving the income from you so that you can go and declare to government at a later date, probably because that person will not send it by himself.
Oh, okay. Sounds interesting. So the government has turned agencies and organizations and individuals into tax collectors for them, so that they don't have to wait till the end of the year to see whether you'll be honest and come and pay everything. They start paying, they start collecting it ahead of time. It's kind of like the way our salaries. So our salaries, when we are paid salary, the accountants will deduct and go and pay the government its share instead of us waiting till the end of the year.
Exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, thank you. I hope everyone is getting this information down, and I encourage everyone, just as you are learning some stuff from this, feel free to hit the reply button and put in some of the points that we are talking about. I see Sayram is already doing this. She's asking, can I withhold my landlord's tax from my rent?
Brace yourself for trouble. Brace yourself from trouble.
Hey, these landlords that you're already collecting 2-year advance instead of 6 months. Okay. That's interesting. Well, that I guess that's a new innovation. Courage is saying that if we do it, it's being a step in the right direction. Okay.
But how sure are we that you render that tax to government ultimately? Probably. So you see why it's not everybody that can withhold tax.
And it's an interesting point you make, and in a different field, and I'm sure Mimi and Sarah especially know about this, where companies are supposed to be paying SNIT and what's it called, SNIT and tier 2 and tier 3 for their staff. They are deducting it from their staff's paychecks, but they are not paying to the entities. You understand?
Yeah.
Mimi, I'm sure you've heard about these kind of situations. I'm guessing Mimi wasn't expecting to be called on. Once you've got courage there.
Once you call courage there, we keep quiet. But so please ask the question again.
So have you heard of situations where companies, like we are talking about withholding for the government, right? Where companies should be paying their employees SNIT and tier 2 and tier 3, those retirement payments. But then the companies end up deducting the money but not paying it to the right entities.
Even government itself is a corporate, so.
I see.
I won't say government. Let me say I've heard some controller and accountant general issues. I don't know who is the one behind it, so please let me say it.
What I heard on the corridors was that a controller accountant calculates how much salaries are supposed to go to. Of course, they know how much you earn, your gross. So they calculate how much is supposed to hit the individual's account. Then they say, they call their big brother and say like, cool. If it is 1 million total obligation, is that the one that must go to the people is about maybe 700,000. So you provide that. Then the difference, take your time and find it. And so government just bothers themselves with finding the ones that will go to people's accounts directly, so there will not be APRA. And then the difference, they take their time to twerk around it before they find it. That is what someone said, and I laughed about it. But hey,
That's interesting. So yeah, it's good this came up. It's a reminder. Everyone should just check their statements periodically. All right. If your employer is supposed to be making payments on your behalf, check those statements to make sure that it's happening. Okay. Another tax change that I observe, which I'm sure people will be interested in, is allowances. First, Courage, this concept of allowances, can they be taxed? Or are they taxed?
Allowances are very much taxable. Okay, so there is salary and there is, if you like, in the public sector, I don't know, they call it your emoluments or whatever. I don't know if I'm using the right term, but even if you look at the budget, they talk about wages and salaries and they talk about compensation of employees. So the compensation would actually include every other thing that comes along. And I think the relevant laws from GRA actually require you tax them. In fact, even your annual bonuses, yes, your income may be maybe a 10K a month, a 5K a month. But if at the end of the year you get bonus, a very fat bonus, it is actually added to your annual gross salary in terms of tax computation. So your boss might tell you have a gross bonus of maybe 100,000, but before you realize you are getting maybe 50 or 60,000. That is because the addition of that bonus to your annual gross could actually take you even to a new income tax bracket, maybe from a 25 to a 30. And the impact will be more on the bonus because that is what is remaining. In the same way for, if you like, canteen allowances, health. I'm not sure about health. I don't know if they tax medical allowances. But then things like entertainment allowance, vehicle maintenance allowance, and stuff like that, they find ways of taxing all of them. In fact, it's one of the policies they've introduced now where it existed anyway, but they've revised the rates. So if you had a car maintenance allowance or some vehicle allowance of sort, you are either paying maybe 250 cedis flat rate every month or 500 or 600 cedi every month on your pay slip towards that as tax. Those rates have been revised now. So for those paying 250, I think it's been increased to 625. And for those paying, I think 500, it's increased to, if I remember right, 1,002 or so. And those paying 600, slightly higher. So yes, those are typical examples of allowances you receive from work that are being taxed. Is the reason some companies find ways of putting fuel allowance on some card so they avoid the tax. And some people decide to pay directly on your payslip so that you will have to pay the tax appropriately. So yes, allowances are taxed.
Oh, okay. So I guess at this point, the net effect is for people who are receiving motor vehicle allowances, whether it's car maintenance or it's fuel allowance or something. They can expect that there will be higher taxes paid, so their paycheck, what will hit their bank account finally, should be expected to go down.
Yes. I don't know. Depending on how many gallons of fuel you receive or what there are brackets for it. So there are those who were paying 250 cedis flat. Mm-hmm. Now, for those in that bracket, they have been increased from 250 cedis to now 625. So if your car element was 250 on your pay slip, now it will be about 625. So that's more than or just about 400 cedis increment, really. Wow. And so you will feel that on your pay slip actually. And if it was 600, it would have doubled to about 1,200 or so. Yeah, so you begin to feel those things on your net pay going forward.
Oh, that's interesting. So people should be aware. Whatever budget you are working with, this is a good time to start taking another look at your budget because it's going to get tighter and tighter. Okay, so there's another type of tax that people may not be aware of. I see some changes related to gift taxes. Can you speak about that?
Well, I don't have the details of gifts, and I don't know how it works, except I've seen the test of what they've put across. Where I think there is some elected rate for gifts and all of that. To be honest, it is not something I have paid a lot of attention to try to understand what it is. But there was an increase in a special elected rate for gifts and gains. What I understood by that is if maybe you receive some gifts that are realized or sold, you were supposed to have been paying about 15% on the gains, but now it's 25%. But I knew there was something like a gift tax. When someone actually gives you a gift, you are supposed to pay some tax on it. I think there is a minimum threshold. I don't have the details as to what the minimum is. If it goes above that, you have to pay tax on that rate or so. But I think they are not exactly very practical, and we haven't found ways of optimizing it. So this very one, the tax on elected rates for gifts, it's something I need to probably look into more and understand what it's about and how it can change the dynamics of gift tax. But to be fair, to be honest, I am not too much, I don't have too much insight into this particular one.
Okay, that's great. At least you've given us some clarity. Whenever you do get some more information, hit me up on the side if we can bring it up in another session so that people understand the gift tax. Because definitely, a few weeks ago, we were talking about young people's dilemma, and someone was thinking about how they want to buy an iPhone and they want somebody to give it to them as a gift. So if such situations need to come, it is a whole market. The whole gifting market is a whole different market that people need to start being careful about. And if you missed that conversation, just go check out our YouTube, our podcast. Dennis has been doing a very good job of keeping us up to date. So big ups to Dennis. You can go play back all those conversations or go through our Twitter profile. All these conversations that we have are recorded, so you can listen to them. And of course, when you get on Instagram, follow Investment Friend for personalized financial coaching and advice. We are talking here generally about these new taxes, but you may need someone to think about your situation. Maybe you are earning 750,000 cedis, so you need to know how this tax is going to affect you and how it's going to affect your budget and all that. Go follow at investment_friend on Instagram. Okay. I see a question here about documents. Whether we have the new tax documents. We don't have them readily, but I think Tax Law GH. Let me get the right handle. It's www.taxlawgh.com. I think their handle is also at taxlawgh. So you could go there. And then if you could kindly help me by just finding their profile and post it there. I know that they've been sharing some information. That would be helpful so that people see the source documents of the stuff we are talking about. So we're talking about gift tax and how people may not like it. This one, the streets don't like a certain new tax that has come. And it's about betting, winnings from betting. People, perhaps let me give my thoughts on this and then we'll take your view as the economist, right? I think this conversation is good because people don't really understand the full scope of taxes. I'm in the US now and I had to file my taxes, even though I didn't make any income in the year 2022. I had a deadline of 18th April to file my taxes because once you're an adult, you're no more a minor in the US, I think that's the threshold. You have to file taxes. Even if you didn't make any income, you have to declare that, well, I didn't make any income, so nothing to declare here. I think the same thing occurs in Ghana, where we are all supposed to file taxes because most people are are employed by our employees. The accountants and the companies usually handle that. But any income you make on your bank interest, and Courage, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these things. Any investments you make, you sell something, you make a profit. Any way you make money is taxable. But I guess that's where we keep saying that the government is not collecting all the taxes that they should be collecting. So it's like we are getting away with a lot of things. And when these things are brought to light, people people make it seem like it's a whole new tax, but it's not a new tax. What we are saying is if you've been betting and you've been making profits, guess what? It's income. You should be paying the taxes anyway. And now it seems the government is asking the betting companies to put a 10% withholding tax on winnings. It's not that the tax is 10%. The tax is going to go by your income bracket. What Courage was saying earlier on, that it starts for, I've forgotten the exact rates, but the maximum now is up to 35%. And before that, there's a 30%, there's a 20%, and all those levels. So you should normally be paying taxes on the profits that you're making from betting. If you lose, sorry. But if you make profits, the government needs this share. Now they are saying they're withholding. Courage, have I put this in a proper way, or do you have a more economic way of explaining it to our people? I muted you, so you can unmute if you are speaking.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah, I think
yes.
So. Yes, Elikem, I think you put it right. That is really what it is. Tax on the revenues you make. I don't know if it's called revenue or the wins or the gains from your betting. To be honest, I struggle to appreciate why people have a lot of problem with that, because practically those are free monies you make anyway. I mean, you could bet a 10 CD and win maybe, I don't know, I've never bet, so I don't know, but you could win 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So what if you pay some 10% on that 1,000 cedis or something like that to the government? I don't see how. Yes, probably in terms of what could have been, you may be slightly worse off, but really you didn't really work for that 1,000 cedi you might have earned on a 10 cedis really. So if we understand the principle, and this is not new in Ghana, like Elikem said, if you traveled somewhere before, you realize that there are much stricter tax laws outside Ghana than it is here really. And there are countries where probably you pay much more than the rates that are being proposed on betting here. So yes, we need to acknowledge that while it's difficult, it is only difficult because it is new to us. But otherwise, these are very normal stuff done everywhere in the world. And I guess betting has become quite fashionable and quite popular not so long ago. I think when I was in secondary school, early days in uni, betting wasn't that popular. It is something that really gained traction over the last 6, 7 or so years. And there are a number of companies springing up in the name of betting, really. So I guess now the government is moving to catch up in an area they have been losing or not making so much from all this while. And we need to see it in that light. But it's actually one of the surest ways to enhance revenue. And we hope that more people do soccer bets and win more so that they can add to the kitty more. I'm not sure everybody is happy. I'm not sure everybody is happy with me, but that's
Courage is encouraging people to do sports betting so that the nation can make more money. I guess we all encourage the economic activity, and I guess for a lot of people it's about certain. It becomes an issue of morality, but we can't force our morality on other people. Courage, but I must say, there's something that you said that I'm sure the streets will be very angry with you. They said they didn't work for it. What drew my attention to this is when somebody made a post, it must be on Twitter, TikTok or Instagram, and he was saying that, see, that 10 cities that they convert to 1,000 cities or even 10,000 cities, the way that they have to rack their brains to align certain events to happen all at the same time, my brother. It's a lot of work.
Well, I get it, but I mean, how did you not rack your brain to earn your monthly income?
Exactly.
So everybody that earns income would have racked their brain and put in some effort, right? Maybe my choice of word wasn't appropriate, but for the same way I sit 8 to 5 every day for a year, or for most of the year, to make my gross salary of maybe 150K, 70K, and then government charges their 30% or so on it. It's the same way when you analyze the matches and analyze your other events and decide to bet on, you're also putting in maybe some hard work. So I think the working to earn the money is not the problem, but government needs their fair share of it, because betting is a sector that is also regulated. In fact, if you do your lotto today and your number drops, but then the institutions to pay do not pay you, I'm not sure that business will continue. And there is a regulation around it to make sure it works. All of those are public services that go into it. And for that, we must also pay our fair share. Besides, if you leave an industry like that to be on its own and don't gain anything from it, those are free monies you could easily have actually mop up a lot from. So yeah, I see the rate is 20%. Paying 20% on your 1,000 still leaves you 800 cedi. And if you take your expense from it, the 10 cedi, you have some 790 cedis, for the good. I think you are better off, really. And plus, you can't escape. So it will be withheld anyway from the point you won the lottery. When you are going to take your money, they'll withhold it anyway. So yeah, you don't have much choice about it. We would all pay if we decide to bet. Like today, I know Chelsea will win 2-0. So those who are into betting, go bet. And when you win, maybe it's not enforced yet, but subsequently, government will take their share.
Hey, boys. This one, you're going to trigger the ASU fans who are against Supporters Union. You're going to trigger them.
Don't say I didn't tell you.
Yeah, but on a very serious note, it's something that we, as we're educating ourselves, we need to educate ourselves on the fact that you earn an income. We live in a civilized society with laws. You earn income, you make profit, you pay taxes on it, no matter the form of the income, unless it is illegal income, where now we are going to be talking about the laws of money laundering and terrorism financing. That's a whole different one, So once you're earning an income, no matter how you are doing it, and it even goes down to the entrepreneurs, the self-employed, the gig economy. We are looking at people who just flip houses or whatever. You buy and sell land. Once you are making profit, you are consulting for people, you are doing whatever. You should be declaring this income and then pay your fair tax. So, Courage, even when you say 10%, that's just the withholding. They are supposed to file it all as part of their income and then and then go and pay the remainder of. So 10%, if they are supposed to pay 25% of their total income, then the other 15% they are supposed to also go pay.
Exactly. I think the rate is actually 20%. The rate is actually 20% here. So.
You see, and when I was in private wealth management, I had certain clients, because of the kind, they want to follow the letter of the law. And even more so, some clients who are based abroad, because they know that if the IRS in whichever country wants to track them down, they will track them down. They come for their statements. We do a full breakdown. This is the income. These are the losses. We offset losses with profits. And then we say that, so therefore, this is your income. And then they go and add it to their other sources of income and then know how much tax they should pay. So guys, it's coming. It's coming. We are getting there slowly. And I think withholding tax is a nice way that the government is starting to widen the tax brackets and group more people in. And so don't worry, we are all paying taxes. Pay your fair share, and hopefully they'll do the right thing and fix our roads and make sure we have electricity 24/7. But that's a story for another day. Okay, Courage, let's run through a few. But on a serious note, though, just as a note, we are discussing new taxes. It is serious business. It feels like the government is dipping their hands deeper into our pockets, and our disposable income is going to reduce. So on a serious note, this is a point where we need to start reflecting. We need to start thinking about our budgets. we need to start thinking about increasing our income so that we'll still have enough left to cover. It's an attack and defense way. Defend by defending your expenses, reducing your expenses, and attack in the sense of increasing your income so that you can recover from any deficits that these new taxes may have on you. Okay, so Courage, a few more new taxes, and then perhaps we can start taking questions. If anyone in the audience has questions you want to ask, feel free to request the mic, or in fact, let us still send us a message, a direct message or reply to the chat, and then we will answer your questions for you. So let's see. You mentioned you weren't sure about the gift tax, but how about realization of assets and liabilities? Does that mean if I have land or a house and I sell it, I'm supposed to pay withholding tax? Somebody's supposed to collect withholding tax or something? Do you know about that area?
Well, yes. So the sale of property, I think what that law is saying basically is that I think it has different rates for residents and non-residents. So when you sell your property, and in this case, I have to look at the bill itself to see who is the collection or the withholding agency. But when you sell a property, be it land, be it a building, whatever it is, you are supposed to pay some withholding tax, either 3% or 10% on the value of the asset or how much you sold it. I'm not sure who the withholding agent is here now, because if I sold my car to you and you pay me, if you are not entitled to withhold, I don't know why you should. And if I'm not entitled to withhold from you, I don't know why I should. So we have to look at the details. But yeah, I guess the test of the law, that is what it's saying, that any realization of assets, you should pay some withholding taxes on it, 3% or 10%, depending on who you are.
Wow, so that means even cars. So now when we sell our cars, you need to calculate the profit that we've made on the car and then pay a withholding, or it's on the total amount.
Yes, I mean it's not the profit. I think it's the, and that's why I think it's worth looking at the text of the bill. I searched from Parliament, I think last night, to read the fine text of the bill, but I'm not sure it's on their website. The president hasn't signed it yet, so I'm not sure. I've seen bits of it circulating at some point, but not the final thing. But what they debated and passed 2 weeks ago, I'm yet to cite the full document and amendment they may have made to it, really. But I think even before now, it was supposed to be the case. Maybe the rate will vary now. When you sell your items, you are supposed to pay taxes on the value. It doesn't have to be the profit, because if you bought a car maybe 100,000 5 years ago, and you are selling it maybe now at say 50 or 60,000, what will you say is your profit? Really, so it has to be the value. Yeah, but the withholding agent is what I'm not sure about at this point. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we are already supposed to be paying taxes on some of these gains, but now somebody is going to actually be the withholding agent to make sure that some of these monies are collected ahead of time. Okay, that's great. As more information comes, when it's signed, we'll make sure to provide links to the original text so that people can refer to them. I know Lee had that question for us. Perhaps, Courage, I'll let you take a pause, drink some water, and let me switch to Mimi, because this new tax one is close to her industry, and I think she explained it a bit. So Mimi, I'll ask you, or if you want Courage to be a lawyer on this one, you can still pass it back to him. I hear that there's a pension related tax exemption. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Courage, be on standby. Anyway, so what I know, and I'm yet to get a bit more information on this. I think in 2020 during the COVID, the whole situation resulted in some people losing their jobs. And normally what would happen is that once somebody is withdrawing from a tier 3 scheme and they haven't done 10 years, they pay taxes of 15%. But here, we're saying that, okay, because of the situation we find ourselves in, people will be forced to withdraw because they've been let go, and they need that money to sustain themselves. So as some form of support, government was waiving off that 15% taxes, so that if you are done, let's say 5 years, and unfortunately your company said you should go, you can take that money. Let's assume it was 100,000. You can take that 400,000 without paying the 15,000 as taxes to the government. As time went on and COVID was no longer really a major issue, it was reversed. But it seems like it's come back, and the reason is because they are saying that some of these economic challenges may result in certain hardships, and as a result, you can withdraw from your tier 3 if you can prove that the economic situation has resulted in, certain hardships. As with the other case, you don't just get up and then call your trustee and say, times are hard, give me my money. No, you would have to go through some kind of approval process and make a case for it. And so in the past with the COVID people, they would have to have a letter come from the employer that they were retrenched, and it was a result of maybe COVID, the challenges with COVID, blah blah blah, sent to NPRA for NPRA's approval before we go ahead and pay the person without taking out the taxes. And so recently someone called me about the same. I asked them, have you lost your job? He said no. But there were certain bonuses and certain monies that were to be paid to him on a normal day that he's not getting. So he's going to apply for some. I wonder how it will go, but he says he has a strong case. So let's see how it goes.
Wow. Then I also have a strong case because, okay, I'll go and talk to my former employer and then the trustees, because I have a serious case. What the dollar has done to my dollar expenses that I have to cash CDs to go and do, it will be very hard. But anyway, yeah. So Mimi has done it.
That's why I'm wondering whether that will work, because I think everybody has a strong case. Well, let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Mimi, thank you. You've done a good job of explaining the background and how it's and the exemption that is there. Courage, do you have anything to add, or has Mimi done a
no, I think job? She did a great job. The only thing I'll add is that it's only for 2023.
Ooh, okay. So if you don't do it this year, it's gone.
Okay. Yeah, unless they decide to repeat it in 2024, but I doubt. Yeah, so.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, so we start wrapping up, and I just have one or two more that I want to ask you about. And there's this one I'm seeing about excise duty. What's going on with excise duty? Is it that they've increased the rates, so we can expect that things are going to be more expensive?
Yes, and that's why the likes of Guta and people who deal a lot with importing and business at the ports are up in arms with the government. So the rates have been increased, and goods that previously were exempted from excise duty have now been included. So they've expanded the coverage to now include certain goods that ordinarily were exempted from excise duties really at the ports. So that is where we are. The fine details and how they impact prices, you can't say for certain, because it would depend on elasticity issues, and all of that. Yeah. So, but what is sure is that if these importers will pay more at the port due to the increase in the duties they pay, then of course it will mean that as end users of the goods they import, we may also have to pay a bit more. So that also affects us individuals directly, except that the exact impact is not something you can estimate directly by yourself. The goods are many and they all carry probably different rates really. So you can't sit down to estimate the impact on you directly, except that we can boldly say prices will be affected.
Okay. So we can anticipate some level of price increases. The specifics are not out yet, but if this is approved, then things would go up. Again,
it is actually approved. It's just waiting for the president to sign it. Yeah, sir.
Okay. So approved, waiting for president to sign. That's interesting. So it's almost done. Okay. Yeah. So to everyone listening, if you just joined us or you joined halfway, today we've been talking about the new taxes. I'm sure you've heard that the Parliament has passed some new tax bills in the last 2 weeks, and the president is yet to sign. We're just talking about how it's going to impact individuals. Of course, anything that is impacting businesses will eventually come to affect us indirectly because of possibly higher prices for the businesses to recoup their lost profits. But we just need to be aware. Generally speaking, I think a lesson for us is that we should be aware that we would have less disposable income. So we need to really look at our budget. Cut anything that can be cut. Because if you don't do it yourself, you realize that you run out of money before the end of the month. If you are thinking about ways that you can increase your income, now is a good time to start looking at that so that you play both defense by cutting your expenses and attack by increasing your income to cushion you from these tax changes that we are being faced with. Courage, thank you so much for these explanations. We are really grateful for all your time that you set aside to explain and break down things for us.
My pleasure, bro.
Okay, great. So at this point, I'll let you take a break while I bring back the usual squad, because there's a tax-related issue that I thought that we saw, and we think it would be a good point for us to have a discussion. So Paulina, Prince, Sayram, if you're in a position to speak, please let's go ahead and speak, and encourage, of course, we feel free to join us. Adam, can you please put up the link, what's the post by GRA and the tax law GH on the various taxes, on certain taxes that they were saying that someone had on their restaurant bill.
Sure, just a minute.
Okay, great. While we wait on that, I'll just briefly describe what we saw in those tweets. So yeah, someone tweeted a picture of their restaurant bill. They had gone to a restaurant, and the subtotal, the cost of the food and drinks, was 612.2 cedis. But then there were various taxes. GFT at 2.5, NHL at 2.5%, CRL at 1%, SC at 10%, VAT at 15%, GTL at 1%, surcharges at 10%, SUR at 10%. So the person's bill went up from 616 cedis to 818.93 cedis. That's about a 30% increase in their bill. And the person was complaining that taxes in Ghana are wild, bro. Then the GRA, that's the Ghana Revenue Authority, replied to the tweet, either retweeted that, note that not all these taxes are from the government. There's Get Fund Levy 2.5%, there's NHIL 2.5%, there's CRL, that's COVID-19 Health Recovery Levy, that's 1%. There's VAT at 15%, and then Ghana Tourist Ghana tourism levy, 1%, and that the other taxes in there were not from GRE. And then tax law GH also added that some of the taxes, the other items in there were the SC and SUR. They said each was at 10%, but if you do the calculation, it's not even 10%. But they seem to add up to the 10%, so that's fine. But it's presumed that the SC is service. What was the term? What was the term that was used? Just a quick sec. Yes, service charge for the SC. And Adam has pasted the link there, so you can just see it at the top of the space. SC for service charge, possibly. SUR for a surcharge, possibly. Of course, these are not official from the restaurant that the person went to patronize. But then this gets you thinking. Some businesses may be putting certain items and certain charges in there that you may think are taxes. So you need to be very vigilant to make sure that your bill is accurate and you are not being overcharged. If this restaurant had told people either through their menu or the waiter told them that we'll be charging you a service charge and then a surcharge, that's fine. But if they didn't, then it raises some concerns. But yeah, let me ask other people. Edem, Mimi, Prince, Paulina, Sarah, and encourage you too. Any thoughts on this? Edem, would you like to go first?
Yeah, Elikem. I think I also saw that that tweet when it was first posted. So I think like tax law had posted, it's not everything on that, all those fees there that are taxes in actual fact. So I think what you said about us studying some of these things very carefully. You know, sometimes we are, especially if you are buying from a place where maybe you are going through the checkout and there are quite a number of people, we don't normally have time to check some of these things. So we just pay and then we move. Okay, but I think it is good that even if you are not able to do it on the spot, you can always check it out and be sure that what you are paying for, you are clear about it. So it happens like the way it was presented, it would seem like all those other things are taxes, but it looks like they slotted in some other fees, which in themselves are not taxes. So like what has been realized, it seems like the SC is a service charge, and then the SUR, whatever it stands for, I don't know. So it's important that we check these things clearly and be sure what we are actually doing. And sometimes even doing the math, you can see sometimes you do those calculations, maybe they put some percentage there, and the figure is not representative of the percentage. All these things are, especially as things are going to get much more tighter as we go forward. People will be coming up with ingenious things to be schemes to be able to get as much money out of people as possible. So it's important we check and we are very sure what we are paying for. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Adam. We should shine our eyes, basically. Shine your eyes. And of course, improve your knowledge by following Money Convos here on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Just Money Convos GH, wherever. And listen to our podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube so that at least you are informed. I hope that by having this conversation, people have come to understand something more about taxes. Whether it's that even betting winnings should be taxed, or whether it's about how your budget will be affected in some way or form. Engaging with Money Convos and Investment Friend on Instagram can help you improve your knowledge about these. Mimi, perhaps do you have any thoughts that haven't already been shared on this issue?
I feel like it's still a lot, even without the CSC and whatever. I feel like it's still a lot, but maybe, I don't know, maybe we should start going back to the YCHL or something. I mean, income levels haven't changed. Things have increased astronomically. People are struggling to survive, which is even making people more stressed, you know? then you are making the problem worse, because now that means it's likely school fees will go up and all those other little things. So I really don't know when this will end, but I find it a bit discouraging. But I guess it's just something we need to go through as a nation, because some people may have made some terrible decisions, and unfortunately, when it comes to the punishment, we all have to suffer the consequences. I think that as they say, sometimes when times are hard, that's when you come up with your best ideas, or you take up certain challenges or do something new. So maybe out of this whole thing will birth forth some new things and some new moves. Who knows? So, I mean, looking at COVID and the many blessings it brought, maybe there are some blessings in disguise. So let's see how it goes. But I think we all have to start thinking hard and getting out of our comfort zone, because the comfort zone is no longer comfortable. Yeah.
Thank you, Mimi. We have to get out of our comfort zone. It's getting hot over there. All right, great. We'll hear from Prince, and then I'll ask Courage the final question, and we can call it a night. Prince?
Okay, I hope you can hear me.
Hello, Prince. Loud and
Okay,
clear.
so thank you very much, Courage, for the insightful presentation on the new tag that has been added to what is already existed. For me, still, I have my own reservation about it, and in as much as we try to broaden it for it more people to pay it, I think still um, people will still evade tax and find um, ways and means where they are going to evade tax. But for me, my issue is for the ordinary individual who is working so hard to make ends meet. You look at the impact that this is going to have on them, and um, I think that um, all we have to do is just we keep hope alive, and also look for alternative ways that we can supplement our income. I think we had a session on Money Convos on some side business that you can do to also help you as a person. So I think that now people should look at looking for other alternative. Just the 8 to 5 will not really support them. So they should look at other ways that they can supplement their income. And I believe that there's still light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you, Elke.
Thank you, Prince, speaking as the voice of the people who are working hard to make ends meet and still going through hardship. But I like how you always end us with some hope, something to hold on to. Thank you, Prince. Okay, so Courage, I have just one final question for you. We at Money Convos, we talk about personal finance. We are trying to help people get towards financial independence. If somebody comes to us, and especially on the investment friend side, again, follow investment friend at investment_friend on Instagram, and they're asking for personalized advice. Say, hey, this is my budget. I'm going through some financial struggles. First thing we do is cut down your expenses. You understand? Isn't that a logical way that we can start looking at as a nation? Just because they have the taxation power and they can write any laws into being to collect money from us, isn't that a more logical way to cut down expenses, cut down waste? Maybe this is not the right platform for this conversation, but I'm just trying to relate it to what we keep talking about here on Money Convos. If our children come and they keep saying daddy I'm broke or mommy I'm broke, will we keep giving them more money, or we'll ask to take a good look at their expenses? What's it gonna be?
Well, yes, you are absolutely right, and that's the prudent thing to do. In all of this conversation about debt exchange and asking people to burden share, I think one question I keep asking is, so what part of the burden is government taking? We've seen people forfeit their coupons. You've seen people even lose. In fact, banks are having the unenviable task of having to recapitalize and the issues related. And a number of them probably will post losses this year from a trajectory that was showing very healthy profits. And bank staff may not get their bonuses that they deserve, they worked hard for.
Hi, Courage. We may have lost you. Okay, we just give it a couple of moments for us to get Courage back. While we wait for Courage, I strongly encourage everyone follow us here on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram. That's at Money Convos GH. And if you want to play back the conversations, go through our profile.
Having vetted themselves much a fiscal discipline conversation. It's been.
Hi, Courage. I've muted you because there was a bit of a delay. Can you hear me now? Hi, Courage. Can you hear us? It's interesting these days with most of the telcos being owned by the government. Maybe I'm just saying, maybe. Okay, all right. Again, I'll just keep giving an announcement while I wait for Courage. All right. So yeah, we are. If you want to listen to any of the conversations we've had, and we've been having these conversations since April 2021. So. There's a lot of content out there that play back.
You've not heard me all this while?
No, the last thing we heard you was when we were talking about bank bonuses. And it's interesting because you work in a bank, and then once you talked about bonuses, your bank bonus, it's a cut off. So please pick it up. Okay, Courage, we've lost you again.
And you can't emphasize enough. Decisions are mostly about how do we create a certain legacy to win the next election? Decisions about this is our stronghold. What do we do for them to entrench our positions there? Let me be clear. Social infrastructure is not great in Ghana, and no community or region deserves to be excluded from maybe some hospital, some road, some other sanitation, or if you like, electricity facilities that the public could provide. But while you want to do that as best as you can, have you considered your books and how they will look, and what the cost, indirect cost of those decisions may be? I think if we begin to look at these things holistically, we may not be doing things like free water during COVID. We may not be doing things like free electricity during COVID, because while they are good things to do and help bring relief to the people, have you looked at what implications it could come with and your ability to deal with them? Or maybe because we had the men to revive the economy, but we can't revive life, so we were motivated to do them. But I thought that if someone pulled the brake and sat back and worked the numbers and say, if you went overboard by this much, this is the impact on our debt, and these are the implications it could have, and we are all aware of those numbers, maybe some of the decisions made will not be made. If someone did the numbers and said that the next $3 billion of loans would impact our debt ratios this way and our debt sustainability this way, and ability to repay our debt this way, and so let's do XYZ, maybe we do not see the scale that we went into. So the whole point is that you are right. Government need to be a bit more disciplined. And what I am looking forward from this IMF program is how we can build irreversibility into the fiscal gains that we'll record. No doubt we'll record them. We'll restore the books. We'll restore their sustainability. But how do we ensure irreversibility? Just the moment IMF leaves, we do not go back knocking, because this won't be the first time. We've seen several of it. Those are the concerns. And then you begin to ask yourself, which areas do we start cutting? And I think for a nation our size, every dollar, every CD of investment we want to put across, we should do the marginal effect. We should do the multiply effect. We should ask ourselves, will it be better in this sector or that sector? And how will it impact things that are important to us, like employment? How will it impact things that are important to us, like public safety? How will it impact things that are important to us? You just name every other aspect of our nation that are important. And then let's see if those investments are directly paying into those. Have you asked yourself the investment into 1D1F, no 1D1F, I mean one village, one dam. Is that 1D? How did they even term that? 1V1D. Look, it was rosy at the start, but what has become of those dams? Have they fulfilled their purpose? Are the people in the northern communities farming in the dry season because of those dams? And has those dams, to what extent has it impacted their yield and helped solve the food security problem in Ghana? If we begin to think on those margins and then assess the numbers well before we take the decisions, then we'll get value for it. Otherwise, there'll be money sunk down there that may never bring any return, really. And for me, that has been the bane of public financial administration. We take the decisions because they are popular, but never really work on the margins and what it does to our well-being ultimately. And so those are things we need to begin to look at holistically. And those are the things I'm hoping the current program will actually embed so that we ensure there are irreversibility in the gains we'll make from the program.
That's interesting. Popular policies are chosen instead of effective policies or policies that will cost us more. Okay. Thank you for your take on that, Courage, and thank you again for coming to explain the implications of the new taxes to us. We look forward to having yet another conversation with you soon. Hopefully sooner than it's taken for us since the last time we spoke to you. And my final word to everyone is, guys, the expenses are coming, the prices should be going up, your income should be going down a little. So manage your budget and try to increase your income where you can. I like that the last part of the conversation, the example we gave on the exchange about taxes and how Ghana Revenue Authority responded, how Tax Law GH expanded, and how we here on Money Convos are trying to explain things to people. I encourage everyone in whatever small way you are, you operate, whichever corner you are in, try to educate people, try to have conversations, have peaceful dialogues. Let's all get educated, and hopefully we'll all start influencing better decisions for our whole country, so that as we won't be in a situation as Mimi described, that all of us will have to pay for the bad decisions that some people would make. So with that, I leave you to have a good rest of the week. Thank you for spending your midweek with us. We pray. I hope that you would have make some good profits, make some good money this week, because you will need it very soon. Go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Also follow at investment_friend. That's investment friend on Instagram, and replay these conversations on our Twitter profile, our timeline, on wherever you listen to podcasts, and also on YouTube. Thank you so much, and do take care. Talk to you next week. Bye.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our thoughts. I hope you learned a thing or two and start practicing. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Do tell a friend about Money Convos so we all become wealthy together. Talk to you soon. Bye.